and we are thrilled to have you here with us today. I'm Ashley Moy, your moderator for our session and Business Development Strategy Director here at Augeo. For those of you who might be new here, Augeo is a global leader in engagement platform technologies and immersive experiences that strengthen relationships at every stage of both the employee and customer journeys. Today, we have two fabulous panelists with us, Nancy Davidson, Creative Account Director from our Strategic Gifting Division, and Kevin Cobb, Augeo's Vice President of Experiential Marketing. Welcome, Nancy and Kevin.
Thanks, Ashley.
Great to be here.
All right, everyone. So over the next 25 minutes, we're going to pick Nancy and Kevin's brains to explore the latest trends in corporate gifting, with a specific emphasis on how emerging technologies are shaping the gifting space in some new and really exciting ways. And with that, we're just going to dive right in. I'm going to start at the high level here with what we're seeing as the most impactful enterprise gifting approaches today. And Nancy thought you could kick us off by sharing your insights on this.
Absolutely. One of the most significant trends we're seeing now is this shift towards more personalized and experiential gifting, which acknowledges the message and the intention behind the gift, which is honestly just as important as the gift itself. And we're seeing our clients are increasingly interested in combining gifting engagements with tech platforms to allow for curated selections, which really allow our recipients to have that feeling of shopping for their perfect gift. And these experiences can be tailored in a variety of ways, from immersive, in-person boutique-style shopping where they can interact with the gifts, make their choice, and get that experience in both a beautifully decorated venue as well as a beautifully designed digital site. Alternatively, we can do the same thing with a full digital experience that allows for those branding opportunities and development of a customized shopping experience that allows for them to browse and select and then have their chosen gift delivered right to their doorstep. Both approaches offer a high level of surprise and delight for the end user, which is really truly what we're going for. These curated approaches to gifting can be scaled at any budget using any product mix, looking with that goal of creating memorable experiences that have a lasting and long-term impact, reflecting back on that gifting engagement. Personalized gifting selections, those are really resonating right now because they truly can be tailored to the recipient's interests. One way to do this at scale as we increase our offerings is to bring in more gifts to maximize that optionality. Experiential gifts, on the other hand, really tie in focusing on those unique experiences like events or activities along with the gifting to create those lasting memories.
That really is such a powerful approach, Nancy. It creates kind of that authentic connection that's going to extend the impact way beyond just, receiving a gift, kind of extending the life cycle of that.
Yes, it's more important to just carry it on way beyond the engagement.
Kevin, I'm going to turn to you now on how corporations can actually facilitate this type of personalized and experiential gifting. How can technology be leveraged to achieve this at scale, like Nancy said?
I think it's an exciting time, but it's also I think a challenging time in gifting because of how expectations have evolved. You heard some of those really key words from Nancy about personalization and customization and, making sure that it's a full experience. Well, we're living in this interesting time where everything we experience seems to be layered together with technology. I mean, we've all got our supercomputers, right, in our pockets that we're walking around with, and we have an expectation that we're going to be able to experience something both in person and in this world that we spend increasingly more time on our phone. And so as we started thinking about layering together the idea of a gifting experience with what the power of the technology can bring in ease of use and creating a consistent user experience that reinforces what an experiential piece should be, how it can tie together really in this idea of personalization, customization, and even help us in like sustainability or being able to fulfill those gifts. I think a good example is the gifting suite that Nancy mentioned. You get the best of both worlds, which I think is a great example of blending technology with the gifting. You're walking through, you're seeing these things, you're touching these things, you're really able to like envision yourself. But then the selection, we get to use what technology does really well, which is it's a very easy thing. You hit it, We don't have to bring all those gifts with us. We can connect directly to our fulfillment partners, drop ship it to your house. It's waiting there when you get there. It's the Amazon experience, right? That we all sort of want, but it's tied into this really intentional experience design and starts to help us hit those sustainability goals, which is always very important.
It's so interesting kind of seeing all of that come together, the meeting people where they are, finding ways to exceed those high expectations, but also the opportunity to act as a responsible steward of the planet, kind of all rolled into one type of solution. Kevin, you mentioned sustainability. Obviously, DEI is another huge focus for here at Augeo and our clients as well, who are really looking to make an impact with their spend. Nancy, how are we seeing companies integrate diversity and inclusion intentionally into their gifting strategies? And what role may storytelling play in some of that?
Yeah, that's a great question, Ashley. Just really these last 3 to 5 years, you've seen a noticeable increase of companies that are working to integrate diversity and inclusion into their gifting strategies and really taking note of minority and female-owned companies to partner with. It's a perfect intersection in time in gifting, and truly that storytelling element. It's not just about giving the gift anymore. It's about, where did the gift come from? What's the story element? Did someone make that? Is there a give back component? Just all of these things that really tie into that element of the how and the why that gift came to be in my hands makes such a huge impact when we are working with these different gifting vendors.
Yeah, that is really exciting. And that's a part of where technology, I think, plays this really exciting role as well in being able to tell those stories. It is this idea of, walking up to the table, you have this conflict between, am I going to read the story of this exciting person, or am I going to take a look at the gift? Well, naturally being humans, our attention starts going there. But when you have this beautiful story of who this creator is, why this gift is made, how it came here, you can absorb the story at the same time that you're making a selection. It brings that power of choice together with, we're going to build some ownership here too. And I read this story and I'm like, oh, I am going to choose that gift. This was really cool. I want to support this type of a creator. And oh, by the way, because I made that choice, because I was able to really go deep in that story, because it was right there as a part of the technological build when you're selecting the gift, now I'm probably going to go tell someone else that story. And so some of our goals of being able to support minority, female-owned, build some of these and support some of these partners, it grows exponentially as those stories get told. So it is, I agree, it's an exciting time to see this combination of how we can layer the stories on with the gifts, with the intentionality of why this experience was designed this way from the start.
And that again creates that deeper meeting, that deeper connection, as well as extends the life cycle in another unique way. We've talked a little bit about the overarching strategies driving enterprise gifting. Let's get a bit more tactical. Nancy, I know that you and the team have been super busy this summer on the road at markets and shows exploring the latest trends and actual products in gifting. So let's hear a little bit of what's rising to the top for our team.
Yeah, Ashley, this is really our favorite time of the year because we're getting ramped up coming into fourth quarter gifting, and we get those opportunities to really get re-energized during the summer shows to just go out and see like what are the new things that are happening and how are maybe the same things in some cases being presented in a new way. And then always there's new trends and just different initiatives for gifting that are bubbling up to the top, especially as we get into the second part of the year for gifting. And we know how important that is as we enter in fourth quarter. But some of the trends I think that are really taking shape are this whole concept of unplugging together, because while we love, and we're here today to talk to technology and how gifting and technology can blend, it's also important to kind of spend time with the people that mean something to you and emphasizing really that work-life balance in so many different ways. The shows have been really continuing to bring on more and more product lines that show these beautiful tactile games that can even double as decor in your home, which I think is just a super way to have those elements available at all times. Gorgeous journals, where you're really encouraged to kind of capture your thoughts and be thoughtful and think about how to be inspired and reflect and how to just be you in your day-to-day and allow yourself those moments of peace to unplug. From a conscious gifting standpoint, this really is nodding back to what Kevin and I were just talking about with that storytelling element behind all of the different makers and that intentionality behind the gift giving. You really would be hard pressed to find a vendor producer to work with now that doesn't have some kind of an element of storytelling, partnership, sustainability, minority owned woven into their product mix, because it's just so important to be focused on right now. Vintage revival. I was laughing with our opening music because we've got 70s vibe going. And retro trends are totally making a comeback. Cameras, that feeling of like a tangible photo is really interestingly having a resurgence, and that's in just true cameras and also through the Polaroids that I think you're probably seeing everywhere. Vinyl records, have a unique ability to capture that warm sound that you can't find in other mediums. And vinyl and how to play vinyl is definitely present in the marketplace right now, and a really fun gift and a nod back to, bringing something that's old new again. And I would tell you, don't be surprised if you start seeing disco balls everywhere now that we've had this conversation. The mirror disco ball is hilariously showing up in unexpected ways in decor and gifting. And I personally am loving that.
Yeah, it's a great example, I do think, Nancy, about to your nod to the technology as a whole of like, because we do all spend so much time with our phones and with our technology, I think it is that whole opposite and equal reaction of like,
Yep.
when we want to take some of these pauses, unplugging, doing things that are vintage, it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
It's great. Yeah.
Feels good.
So, and now, many of us are, it doesn't feel like it today where we are, but the fall is coming, and just kind of nodding to nature as we enter into the fall and the winter months. Gifts that focus on bringing the outdoors in. I think it's so fun to see this gifting element of bringing like live plants into your story for gifting and embracing all these warm textures like velvet and wool and felt and leather in kind of unexpected ways. Like I just saw these cool journals the other day that were printed out of corduroy, which I think is so interesting and tactile. And then like what we were just talking about from that unplugging standpoint, just that focus on healthy habits and the importance of mindfulness and meditation, but also interestingly, good sleep. I think all of us, can remember nights when we might not have, done our best in digging in for a good night's sleep. And I think there's so many tools and stories to tell about how it's good for us to really take time to take care of ourselves and take care of our health. And there's so many gifts out there that support those initiatives. So I think this is a really cool and an innovative nod as we come into the fourth quarter. It's a really fun time in the gifting world.
I always love hearing about all these trends, Nancy. I can just see so many of these being incorporated into project, but also my personal life too. So I always feel inspired when we get to hear what's hot and coming. Kevin, switching gears here, talking about trends, I think we'd be remiss to be chatting about gifting technology trends without touching on AI. So definitely want to get your perspective on how AI is changing this space.
Cool. So AI is a thing right now. People are talking about that. No, yeah.
Never.
Thank Kevin.
Yes, as we think about AI, and you've probably heard us here at Augeo say a couple of times, we truly think of AI as a teammate. And I think when we think about how AI is impacting gifting and gifting experiences, I would keep it within that same vein. Some of the things that AI is really good at is helping to take away some of the limitations that are on us, because it can do something that would be more difficult for just a team of humans to do all in themselves. And I think that that's a really good way, either from a time saver or the idea of creativity that you can layer on in a whole nother way.
thinking about it that way, just the empowering the efficiencies, but also the personalization, that really is a game changer with thinking about how to integrate AI in some really sustainable ways. I'm curious what other novel technologies are emerging that maybe our audience isn't as familiar with. So Nancy, what are some of these solutions that might be at the top of your list?
Well, I think everything that Kevin said, I 100% echo, and it is so interesting to see this evolution of AI and technology. And further kind of digging into just that whole experiential element within technology is this use of 3D gifting platforms. We're seeing more and more use of that and in a much more attainable way than it might have been a few years ago. This platform is super interesting because it really allows for the employee to get in and explore and select their gifts in a truly virtual environment. And it's a really interesting way. I think we were laughing about, you can actually get in and look at an air fryer or look at the pan set that you're contemplating and take the lids off and look at all these things. And it's pretty interesting that it just allows for a truly dynamic and interactive way for the recipients to engage with their gifts before making a selection, much like they would if they were in a live space. So it does add this element, of the flexibility to decide what is the best kind of engagement to offer your audience.
And Nancy, that flexibility, no matter what your workforce looks like, if it's hybrid, you have remote employees or stakeholders, kind of serving everyone with one solution.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, and can be efficient as well. We talk about the fact that, we build on a lot of different technologies. And one of the reasons we do is so that we can find the right one to deploy for the right experience. And so you're right, this is such a great solution that combines the idea of full immersion, but maybe without some of the hurdles that we might see with VR or AR, which are great for certain experiences as well. But this can be kind of a nice like middle ground where you're just launching a browser and you can navigate this experience and yes, see this three-dimensional designed air fryer or gift of choice and really spend time in an immersive environment. But there's no hurdle there for you as far as like, how do I have to download stuff or what do I need to install or how do I work the Oculus goggles? And so we have all different levels of technologies to really make sure that we are focused on experience, meeting, gift, and doing so in the right place.
I think we have a new challenge, 3D rendered disco ball in the next.
Fantastic.
Yes. That's on you, Kevin.
Okay, no problem.
Okay, I'm gonna ask a question that might be on people's minds because we hear things like, AI integrations and 3D virtual environments with custom renderings, and I immediately start seeing dollar signs. So let's talk a little bit about budget and whether it is possible to do more with less with these types of solutions, or maybe there's efficiencies that can be realized, or even scalability and approach, kind of like you were just touching on, Kevin. But
Mhm.
how should we think about this with regard to budget?
Yeah, and we'll touch quickly on this because we do know, where we are, like that's always going to be a consideration. And I think you've nailed it. One is to ensure that there is like a pretty good sized toolbox that you can pull from. You don't always need to, go all the way to the very, very tippy top of technology and build that one that's maybe more expensive and stuff, as long as you can be consistent in your experience and the intentionality. Or to your point, create something that you can reuse. Maybe you're changing the campaigns each year, but the 3D gifting, for example, like if we set up a customized room, we can really change that and evolve that with some really just targeted ways and be able to reuse that throughout the year. So we are very, very focused on making sure we're matching the idea of where is your budget when we're talking about these technologies, and then what's needed from the experience so that budget will always be something that can be and will be considered in the ultimate solution.
I think right up there with budget, budgets are a challenge. We hear that day in and day out. I would also put kind of the need to have a streamlined, consistent brand experience up there. This is also something that we're hearing across the board. Companies looking to create some sort of a centralized strategy in order to preserve the integrity of their brand and ensure that there aren't different departments or leaders or divisions who are some ways kind of going rogue and doing their own thing. What strategies and technologies can solve for this challenge? And Nancy, maybe you can dive into this one.
Yeah, Ashley, you're correct in that. And truly it is about implementing a centralized approach that can be used by a variety of people for a variety of purposes, like Kevin just spoke to. So when a digital gifting suite is not only fast and cost effective to implement, it could also potentially serve as like a centralized digital storefront that unifies that entire experience in a brand safe way. So regardless of whether you're a recipient or you're a client or an employee or all of those things, there's a way to build it out that makes sense and maximize the budget and streamline the gifting touch points.
Okay, everyone, we're going to stay honest with our time here. But before we wrap up today's session, let's do a quick lightning round of key takeaways that you guys want our audience to leave with. And Nancy, I'll let you jump in first.
Okay, great. So I think there's so many things to think of, but I think when it comes right down to it, just a consistent view on selecting gifts that have been thoughtfully sourced, designed, and presented in an intentional way really is the thing that truly makes a lasting impact on that recipient. And that shift in creating gifting engagements to include both personalized and experiential elements, to incorporate customization, including that element of choice that we've been talking about so much today. Those touch points just allow that end user to feel truly engaged and involved in the whole process, and it sticks with them and means more and stays long past that singular experience of actually selecting the gift.
I would say for mine, these two things really do go together, and they go together really well. And so consider how utilizing technology can enhance and truly immerse someone in a gifting experience. It can allow for this idea of user experience or UX, in the technology world as we talk about it. It doesn't have to just stop with how you're going to navigate a gifting experience. How are you going to select it? How are you going to see the full sort of it's mine, it's going to come, it's here, I love it, I'm going to talk about it. People are going to use technology on that journey. So let's be the ones that design that and making sure that we're hitting that consistency, that brand, and that it is truly all one experience.
All right, everyone, that's all the time that we have today. Nancy, Kevin, thank you again. And thank you so much to our audience for taking the time to join us. If you have any questions for our panel, please do not hesitate to reach out to us at info@augeomarketing.com. And also keep an eye on your inbox for a guide that will dive into everything we discussed today. Thank you again, and we'll see you next time.